Hey everyone, happy Friday and welcome back. This is DKTV's Pre-Lock Live, and if you're watching, you're not out on a Friday night. Well, you're just as goofy as the rest of us, but we're happy to have you here. And if you're new to this show, well, settle in. We're going to spend the next hour getting you ready for tonight's 10-game slate in the NBA, and if all goes well, you'll win your contest because our experts will help you fill out those lineups. And as always, if you have any questions, fire them over. Don't be shy. Use the hashtag DKTV on Twitter or leave your comments on the YouTube player. You can do it that way as well. Either way, whichever method you have, questions are going to get to me. I'll take them to the analysts and we'll be good. From a straight basketball perspective, some interesting games tonight. We'll let you see the slate here. Raptors at the Wizards. Those teams competing with the Celtics for the runner-up spot to the Cavs in the East, let's be honest. Seas in LA tonight to face the Lakers. Cavs and Hawks, another good one. Lots of lousy games, too. They're really all over the map. And some tough ones to read, I think, fantasy-wise, with some fast-paced squads, some good offenses against good defenses in some cases. But we'll get into all that just a little bit later on. Let's bring in our experts, though. Jeff Ulrich and Pierce Dietrich. Guys, how you doing?
Kaufman, I'm going to need you to talk a little bit more so I can throw in some lineups tonight. So just keep going here.
Hey, Pierce, while we're on that, by the way, since you're actually paying attention to basketball tonight, is West Side Story over yet or what?
It will never be over. I could watch that 24 hours a day.
Well, so that means it's on basically 3 times over the course of the 24 hours. That's essentially how long that movie runs. Hey, good for you. Maybe
I'm doing good too, Adam. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, Jeff, whatever. We'll get to you in a sec. Hey, there's another member of our group, too. Alex Jankowski is in the DK Live newsroom. Let's check in with him before Jeff feels another opportunity to speak. Alex, how are you, buddy?
Doing quite well. How about yourself down there, Adam?
We're off and running here, which is exciting. First thing first, though, Thunder and Suns in Phoenix, couple of high-scoring teams. Good one for fantasy, I assume?
Oh, you betcha. I mean, we're looking at what could be an old Western shootout here in the desert with the Thunder and the Suns. Projected total is 226, which isn't astronomical by any stretch. Probably taking into account the fact that both teams did play last night, so there might be some fatigue there, but that's definitely not enough to steer away from what are some really enticing options pretty much at any price point. Starting, of course, with Russell Westbrook, highest priced player on the slate, no surprise. He has topped 80 DK points in both meetings against Phoenix this season. Across from him is Eric Bledsoe, who is not at an 80-point clip, but he is averaging 43 DK points at home, so, nothing to sniff at.
He does not remotely belong in that conversation, but we're going to talk about him anyway. Terrence Jones, he signed with the Bucks, won't play tonight, but tell me a little bit more about him. What are some of the other transactions?
Yeah, so the writing on the wall was kind of on the wall there for Terrence Jones in New Orleans after DeMarcus Cousins came to NOLA. They tried to find a trade partner for him at the deadline, but couldn't, so they ended up just releasing him. But he falls into a really good spot in Milwaukee, which had just lost Michael Beasley to that knee injury. Jones, as you said, will not play tonight, but definitely a guy to watch moving forward. Averaged around 12-6 overall for New Orleans, but was much, much better when Anthony Davis was out with injuries or missed a couple games. So, he has a legitimate shot to be the Bucks' starting power forward from here on out, so definitely someone to watch. Guys who are playing tonight, Brandon Jennings, who was waived by the Knicks, found himself a contender signing with the Washington Wizards. He'll make his debut tonight backing up John Wall against the Raptors.
In Orlando, not in real life, of course, but in the world of basketball, and the Heat banged up, Alex. So what's the latest there?
Yeah, there wasn't a ton of injury news today, but that was definitely where most were looking, just because Hassan Whiteside had come into the day as questionable. However, him and Dion Waiters both will play. They both went through shoot-around A-OK. They'll be fine tonight in a good matchup against Orlando. Willie Reed also back for the Heat. Elsewhere, Guillermo Willie Hernan-Gomez will be out again for the Knicks, so look for Kristaps Porzingis to start at center again, which happened on Wednesday. Also, Kyle O'Quinn saw about 20 minutes off the bench there, so we're expecting that rotation to kind of stay the same against a weak Philly front court. Gerald Henderson on the other side of the ball is out for the Sixers with a hip injury. Expecting Nick Stauskas to slide into the starting lineup, as well as Justin Anderson, who they acquired from Dallas in that Nerlens Noel trade to see a little bit of run off the bench.
All right, Alex, great stuff. We'll be sure to check in with you, of course, throughout the night. We've got about 50 minutes until lineups lock, 7 o'clock Eastern, so a lot of time to address plenty of, issues, quite frankly. A lot of things that, you got to get you thinking around the NBA, and we'll take your questions, as always. Again, the hashtag DKTV on Twitter. But it's time to really get you started toward building those lineups, and naturally, you got to start with one guy, right? Do you begin with value? Well, some of you might, but we like to begin with our building blocks. That is the first place to start because, quite simply, there's a group of guys that you could think about, a whole bunch of them right here, whether it's Westbrook, James, Wall, Thomas, Cousins, all these guys, high-priced, obviously, but that key stud to begin your lineup with, and then you want to build around those guys. The question is, who of any of them are the ones you really want to look at? So let's take a closer look at each and every one of these guys here. We'll really zero in on one. You have, as far as Westbrook goes here, you can see 13,100. He's getting about 65 DK fantasy points per game. Obviously is playing plenty of minutes. Thunder and Suns offer the highest projected total on the slate. I don't know why you wouldn't pick the best player in that game, but again, we'll get that analysis from our guys. In 2 games against Phoenix, Alex mentioned this before, Westbrook averaging about 38.5 points, 16 assists, 12 rebounds, 85 DK fantasy points per game. It's absolutely absurd. As far as James, high salary, 11,200, but it is LeBron. Atlanta, bottom half of the league against small forwards, and nearly 70 DK points Wednesday against the Celtics. Skipping down to Isaiah Thomas for a moment here. That thumbs up, by the way, if you're new to that icon that you're seeing on the screen, means good matchup. $9,300. He has at least 4,200 DK points. 42 DK points, 4,200 would be something. 6 of the last 9 games, Lakers have given up an average of about 78 DK points to opposing point guards over their last 5 games. By far the worst mark in the NBA. New Orleans second at 62. So you can hear that 15-point discrepancy right there. And then Boogie, 9,200 for Cousins. Spurs, tough matchup for any position on any night. But is that enough to justify a drop in salary? Significant at that. 1,300 the difference. Used to be 10.5 last time out, now 9,200. Cousins DKFP totals of 59 and 63 against San Antonio when he was on the Kings this year. But going back to John Wall, 9,700. It's a great matchup for him against Toronto, a team that is 22nd in the league against point guards, and that was with Kyle Lowry in the lineup. Obviously, he is no more for the rest of the regular season. That's the expectation anyhow. And Wall averaging 50 DK fantasy points against the Raptors this year. Wall is our featured guy, is the one we're really thinking about, Pierce and Jeff. So let's start there. Wall, a guy that you're looking to tonight when you are starting your lineup, when you're going toward that building block, or is one of the other guys more appealing to you?
Yeah, I'm not that crazy about it.
Yeah, he's an interesting play. I think he's going to be lower owned for tournaments than he should be. The problem with him is there's a lot of good value at point guard, so I don't feel like he's a must play. And then obviously you have to pay up for Russell Westbrook tonight too, so can't really fit them both.
So Westbrook then a must play for you, Jeff?
You know, I've been trying all day to find angles as to why not to play Russell Westbrook tonight. It's back-to-back, but, you know, you really look at it. He's playing the Phoenix Suns, who also played last night. The Thunder lost to the Trailblazers last night, so they're kind of in like a really rebound spot against a weak team. Really no reason for Russell Westbrook not to go off here against Phoenix. He's already gone off against them a few times. So I think it's also projected to be a close game. It's only a 4-point spread, highest point total on the slate. There's nothing not to like here. I think you're just overanalyzing things if you don't play Russell Westbrook. The only thing I'd say is, you know, for large tournaments, obviously, game theory wise, it makes some sense to have some non-Westbrook lineups just for sort of hedging purposes.
Well, all right, but if you're looking for a reason to not play him tonight, what about usage? I mean, don't you think most people are probably going to feel the way you do and everybody's going to target this guy? Yeah,
exactly. I mean, again, you definitely would get a leg up if Russell Westbrook had a slow game tonight. You'd probably be bypassing a lot of the field, can create a more balanced lineup. But I do think that Westbrook falls into the must-play category here.
All right, Piers, what about you? Is he must-play? And on top of that, right off the bat, you said Wall didn't do much for you. So who does?
Well, Wall's fine. Wall is definitely going to get you 50 points. Very safe, great in cash games. I just don't see him having a high ceiling. Like you mentioned, he's a great matchup. Corey Joseph has one of the worst DRPMs in basketball. But another fear you got to worry about that is Toronto got blown out by the Wizards, and the Wizards just distributed the ball in the last game. Wall didn't get the heavy usage. It actually went to Bojan Bogdanovic. Could be Otto Porter tonight. You don't know. I still think he's pretty safe. I just don't seem to have the ceiling like Russell Westbrook, who scored over 80 fantasy points in both matchups against Phoenix. It's a fast game. They don't play well against guards. Everything really lines up for Russell Westbrook. With Oladipo out, his usage percentage yesterday was 46%. That's not going to change. He's just going to continue to score and basically do everything. The one knock against Westbrook, which is probably a good thing because it's going to lower his ownership, is he's $13,000. That means you've got $5,000 to spend on the rest of your lineup. But if you're keying this Suns Oklahoma City game, there's a ton of value, and you can just stack the hell out of this game.
All right, so you're not worried about the usage as far as Westbrook goes either then? This is a guy, it sounds like both of you guys aren't even hesitating. That's who you start your lineup with.
At $13,000, I mean, I'm not the biggest expert when it comes down to crunching the numbers on predicting what the ownership is going to be. But at $13,000, I don't think a lot of people are going to be really comfortable taking Russell Westbrook, and then it's punt city after that. If you want to put in another superstar like Boogie, then it's absolute punt city. And that means you need to get at least 30, 40 points out of your punts. It's not the best spot to be in. And if Westbrook only gets 70 points, which is amazing, that may not be enough.
All right, guys. Well, enough of my questions for a moment. Let's take one from our audience. Again, the hashtag DKTV if you want to get involved, taking your questions right up until lineup lock. You can see right here from Logan. How do you guys feel about Alec Burks? So, great. Right off the hop, we've got a guy I've never heard of. Jeff, what do you think?
Alec Burks, is that what we're talking about? Utah?
This is who we're talking about, yeah.
Yeah, min-price guy. He's kind of interesting. Could be a blowout there. There's a couple other interesting mid-price plays. Tyler Ulis from Phoenix been getting really good backup point guard minutes. I think I'd rather go with him.
Pierce, Burks?
I'm going to lean more towards Joe Angele. Joe Ingles, 4,000. And the last time that Rodney Hood was out, he had 40 points. And as Jeff mentioned, this could be a blowout, which I actually think favors Alec Burks because the starters, George Hill, he's just coming back from injury. He may only play 20 minutes, especially if they get a big lead. They're 14-point favorites. And I know they just got boat raced by Minnesota, but they should have their way with Brooklyn, up-tempo game. I don't completely hate Alex Burks, but I do like the Tyler Ulis play as well. Alec Burks should be a lot lower owned, though.
Can I get that name again from you?
Tyler Ulis, Alec Burks?
No, the very first one.
Bojan Bogdanovic, Joe Angeles, Joe Ingles.
Yeah, Angeles. Such a dummy.
Man,
all right, let's go to our next spotlight here. After building blocks, naturally, you typically go to value. That is where we're going to look. Obviously, we kind of just teased you a little bit with it with a guy like Alec Burks, but there are a lot of different compelling guys to take a look at here. You can see whether it's Ingram, Williams, Bogdanovic, who Pierce was just talking about, Ingles as well, and Gibson also. Let's really break these guys down, though, as we always do. And the whole idea behind value, of course, is trying to take advantage of that money. Guys are so low priced, you want to see if you can get 6 times, 7 times, 8 times value in a perfect world. Really capitalize on your competition out there when you're building these lineups, especially if you're going with a guy like Westbrook as your building block and really paying up, banking on him having that 80-plus DK fantasy point performance again. But let's look at these guys here just a little bit closer. You can see the stats. A lot of good ones, obviously. Brandon Ingram, 4,800. Keep a close eye. That little icon there, the clock, naturally means minutes. In 3 games since Magic Johnson took over, Ingram has played 39, 35, and 42 minutes, posting at least 20 DK fantasy points in each of those. Should be a high-scoring game against Boston. And the last time, in fact, as I recall, last month, it was, I think, 113-107 between those two teams. So, again, should be a lot of points. Bojan Bogdanovic, 4,400. We'll skip over Williams for a second. 32 DK fantasy points Wednesday, a couple days ago. Wizards beat the Raptors in Toronto. Now they get him back in the nation's capital. He has been over 5 times value his last 3 games. Ingles, 4,000, so not quite min, obviously, but $4,000. Still no Rodney Hood for the Jazz, out with an injury. Ingles expected to start 16 starts. He's averaging about 9 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals. And then Taj Gibson, 3,800, just a tick below him. In addition to ridiculous half-court shot just recently, Gibson 33 fantasy points last night in 33 minutes. Suns give up the 5th most points to power forwards. Gibson's salary only went up $100 as well. But let's go back now to Allen Williams for Phoenix, 4,400. At least 20 DK fantasy points for him. in his last time out here, taking a, let's see here, 16 point, 12 rebound, double-double last night against the Hornets, 36 DK fantasy points. So building just a little bit more here on Alan Williams. Let's take a listen here to what Pierce, Jeff, what you guys have to say. See a guy among this group of value players that you really like, you're willing to, I hesitate to say pay up because he's 4,400, but compared to some of the other guys, Pierce, you like him?
Yeah, in his last 4 games, he's hit value. A couple games ago, hit 13x. The Suns are starting to play some of the younger guys a lot. This is an up-tempo game. It's not the greatest matchup against Oklahoma City, but if he gets a little bit more minutes, right now he's getting around 20, 25, and he's doing pretty well with those. Give him some more, and I think he's an awesome play. I like him tonight a lot. I mean, you've got an up-tempo game. It's a close game, too. This is the highest projected scoring game, and it's very close. He should be a pretty solid play today. I like all those guys, maybe except Bojan Bogdanovic. He's pretty three-dependent. He's been nailing threes lately. If he starts to miss a couple, I could see them running Otto Porter out there more. If you look at the last game, Otto Porter looked awful. And if Otto Porter just plays halfway decent, maybe that cuts into Bogdanovic's minutes a little bit. So I would probably stay away from him. Brandon Ingram does nothing with his minutes. I can't touch that. Joe Ingles is good. Taj Gibson also in the Oklahoma City game is good. Doug McDermott in that game without Oladipo, he's playing 30 minutes. He is good as well.
I just like Ingles better. I'm going to stick with it. Yeah, the rookie, unfortunately, number 2 overall pick, Ingram's not done a ton. Jeff, how do you read this situation? You like Williams? You going elsewhere?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few other actually cheap guys on Phoenix you could think about too. I mentioned Tyler Ulis, but Marquise Chris is in almost the exact same situation as Alan Williams. This was really going along well last game. They pulled the starters for the entire fourth quarter, and the bench basically ran out the game for Phoenix. I think Chris is going to see more minutes tonight. I might even prefer him slightly over Alan Williams. It's really close between those two. They're both good plays. It's going to be interesting to see how that gets divvied out. It's a little bit of a guessing game with the minutes, but both those guys are in play. Pierce mentioned Washington. There's too many players there now. I feel like it's really taking down the fantasy value. Guys like Otto Porter. I'm kind of off Bogdanovic as well. Taj Gibson, I worry a little bit too. Enes Kanter, obviously Steve Adams, still going to see some minutes. He's a good play, though. And Brandon Ingram, no, I'm not. The guy's just been so unproductive with his minutes. I don't know. I'm fine fading him. I know a lot of people are on him because of how much he's playing, but he's not doing anything with it. I don't feel the need to chase him up there.
We're going to head back to the DK Live newsroom coming up in just a moment. Check in with Alex, get a little more detail on what's going on with LeBron James and that high salary. But let's take another viewer question for the guys here first. Again, the hashtag DKTV, if you want to leave us one on Twitter, on YouTube, you can leave us one there as well, and we'll make sure we get it, of course, from Dean. Korver and Booker going against former teams. Any extra value here? Jeff, what do you think?
No, I don't like either of those players. I don't like Kyle Korver at all. Maybe Booker. You know what? They're playing Utah. Why bother?
Pierce?
I don't like Booker. He has been playing really well of late, but the matchup's not good. But look at the numbers on Kyle Korver. I mean, it's probably not necessarily a revenge game, but he wants to show up well for Atlanta. And really the only reason he doesn't play well is when he's not taking shots over the last couple games. You got to believe that LeBron and the Cavs, him playing Atlanta, are going to give him plenty of opportunities to make shots. And the Atlanta Hawks allow I think second most three-point attempts and the most three-pointers made. I know it's near the top, so it sets up really well for Korver. I like Korver as a cheap punt here.
All right, well, let's go back to the DK Live newsroom. Again, keep those questions coming. We're going to check in with Alex Jankowski again. And Alex, as mentioned, Cavs in Atlanta tonight, a game we were just talking about there with Korver. LeBron, as expensive as he has been in years.
Yes, you got that right. Now, 11,200 isn't, it doesn't sound as high when you're comparing it to the likes of Westbrook, Harden, things like that. But LeBron's salary has reached never-before-seen levels for the King himself. Westbrook is the highest, as we said, at 13.1. But he also has that massive 42% usage rate. LeBron's usage rate this year is 29.4, far lower, but he's coming in at 11,200. Now, we went back as far back as we could for salaries on DraftKings, which was back to the start of the 2014 season. LeBron has never been this expensive before. He is coming off that triple-double performance against the Celtics, and the Hawks are less than stellar against small forwards. But as I said, never before has LeBron James been this expensive. Of note, in one matchup earlier this season against the Hawks, LeBron had 48 DK points, 23 real points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 steals. However, that was literally 7 games into the season, and Kevin Love was still healthy.
Any other pressing news at this moment while we have you?
Yeah, I actually just got something right here. Let me get that for you. Oh, Chris Middleton's returning to the starting lineup for the Milwaukee Bucks. Now, whether that means a whole lot, it kind of remains to be seen. He was taken out last game, still ended up playing 30 minutes. The other one that we had just gotten in is Nick Stauskas is officially starting for the Sixers in place of Gerald Henderson.
Well, and if I remember right, going back to Wednesday, wasn't that the expectation for Middleton as well? He's not going to start tonight, but he is going to play 30 minutes.
Yeah, that was the news we had gotten during Pre-Lock Live last night. We thought he would be starting heading into it, just given that Michael Beasley had just been hurt, and who else would they start? But Jason Kidd, as he often does, tinkered with the lineup, and he still ended up seeing plenty of time, but he is in the starting lineup tonight.
All right, Alex, a lot of great stuff there. We'll hear from you again just a little bit, but I think it's about time to go by route of the Chase Fade. We haven't hit one of those yet. Time for round one, and we're going to shake this up just a little bit tonight, make it maybe a little bit more organized as well than we have in the past at, I would say, at viewer request, but quite frankly at Pierce's request, and to his credit, it was a logical one. Too often, we've been doing these 3 rounds, 2-2-2, and we're winding up at 3-3 ties. Well, now for Chase Fade, guess what? Logic set in. We're only going to do 5, so we can have that tiebreaker. We can actually have a winner instead of this everybody gets a trophy society. So the Chase Fade, 15 seconds for each of these guys, as usual, to make their argument, to convince me to pick a winner, basically, guys. You know how this works, but to explain it to the new people. So the very first Chase Fade, LeBron James, guy we were just talking about, is priced too high at $11,200. Chasing or fading, Jeff?
I'm going to chase this. I do think LeBron is a little bit too high tonight. I don't think he's necessarily a bad play. There's a lot of guys in sort of not great matchups. But if you look at it, the game total is not huge. The Cavs game implied team total is under their season average. Atlanta's got some decent defenders too. Dwight Howard's up there around him. So I'll chase this. That LeBron's just a little bit too expensive.
All right, Pierce.
I'll fade that. I mean, there's a reason why his price is up there. It's because he's getting just basically 50 points guaranteed every game, and he has a ceiling where he can go up to 70 on any given night. And if you look at the supply of small forwards with Kevin Durant out, there's not a lot of people to choose, so that's influenced the salary a lot, I believe. I think he's definitely a good spot. He's priced correctly.
All right, we're going with Jeff there for that one because, I mean, look right here. Look right, these guys can't, but you can. Look right here. 52.4 is the DK points per game. That is his average. So the argument cannot very simply be, well, he's basically getting you 50 every game. He is literally getting you 50 every game, and he has never been priced this high. So plain and simple, I mean, he'd be priced higher regularly if it were just the 50-point floor that we were looking at. So we're going to turn that around on Pierce. We're going to go with Jeff. 1-0 in favor of Jeff. Let's see if Pierce can even this thing up. All right, Russell Westbrook here. 80 DK fantasy points against the Suns. He has done it twice already this year. He's going to do it again. Chase or fade, Pierce?
Yeah, you got to chase this. I know it's hard on your salary, but 80 points and then 89 points in his 2 matchups against Phoenix. It's a fast-paced game. Phoenix cannot guard anyone, let alone the guards. And without Oladipo, he had a 46% usage. Who else is going to score? This is a big line on this game.
Jeff?
I'm kind of argue against myself here. I'm going to fade this. I do think Westbrook has 80-point upside in this game. I just think that the law of averages says he's not going to score 80 fantasy points. He's only done it once in his last 10 games. The matchup is as good as it can be. I do think you should pay up for Russell Westbrook, but I'll fade him doing it because, like I said, law of averages.
Immediately, I'm just looking at Pierce. I'm thinking of that SNL routine with John Lovitz back in the early 90s where he's Dukakis and he's just looking. He said, like, I'm really losing to this guy? No. Pierce gets that one there. We're even at 1. Jeff knew he didn't have an argument, but that's okay. Let's go back to our questions here. You guys waiting patiently. Let's get them answered. Get some opinions from these guys as well. All right, first one. Let's take a look here. Again, the hashtag DKTV on Twitter to get involved. You can leave them on YouTube as well. All right, this first, I won't even attempt to pronounce that. How do you guys feel about Rudy Gobert? Pierce?
I like Rudy Gobert. The one thing that worries me about Rudy Gobert is if this thing turns into a blowout. He had a really good – one thing you worry about playing Brooklyn is that Brook Lopez plays out near the three-point line, that might pull Rudy Gobert away. But that didn't happen. I believe he had 45 points in their earlier matchup. He's been a lock for 35, 40 points every time this year. You got an up-tempo game. He's priced pretty low. I love him, but I worry about the blowout.
Jeff, quick thought on that?
Yeah, pretty much the same. There's a lot of Utah Jazz guys that are in play, but some of them are a little bit risky. Gordon Hayward, the exact same deal. Gotta love the matchup. Just if this thing gets out of hand, they're not going to play the fourth quarter.
All right, next question. Let's see what we have here. I'll wait. I'm patient. Rodrell, I hope I'm saying that right. How do you feel about Serge Ibaka, again, with his new team with the Raptors? Jeff, start us off.
Yeah, I mean, Serge was my hot take from last Wednesday, and I mean, he did. He scored over 40 fantasy points. It's a good matchup. It's a really good matchup. The price went up to $6,700. That puts me off him a little bit. I don't necessarily think he's a bad play. I'm going to go somewhere else tonight. I think DeMar DeRozan's going to take charge a little bit and try and keep this thing close. The Raptors are in a tough spot. Like I said, I'd like Serge if he was 6,100 more. Don't like him as much at 67.
Pierce?
I mean, maybe he doesn't have as much value as he did last Wednesday or 2 days ago. It's the same game, basically. He got 44 fantasy points. Washington allows the fourth most points to power forwards. I don't think anything's really changed. Lowry's still out. His usage is still going to be pretty solid. So I can play him. I don't know if he's going to really get you more than that. That's probably his ceiling.
Yeah.
All right. One more question, then we'll move on here for a little bit, and we'll get back, obviously, to some more questions a little bit later in the program here. Logan, what do you think of Nick Stauskas? Jeff?
Yeah, I like Nick Stauskas tonight. It's a really good matchup. We got confirmation he's playing. He's 3,800. Shooting guard is generally a position I don't mind punting in. There's a few other players in that range. Thabo Sebalafa, whatever his last name is, from Atlanta. He's only 3,600. He's going to play a lot against LeBron, so I like him. We mentioned Joe Ingles too, but Nick Stauskas is definitely in that group of value plays.
Pierce?
Yeah, I like Stauskas on Wednesday, even when he's coming off the bench. He's been getting 20 points out about 25 minutes a game. Now he probably could give out 25 to 30 minutes. If he hits 25 fantasy points, which is really not much of a stretch, that's 7X right there. I really like Stauskas, and it's not that bad of a matchup against the Knicks.
All right, good stuff. Again, what's that?
I said it's a good matchup, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's not the best matchup on the board.
Yeah.
All right, if you guys have questions, keep them coming. The hashtag DKTV, we'll get them to you as we have been throughout the first half hour of the program. Again, we're here with you. Another half hour, lineups lock at 7 o'clock Eastern. We're going to bring back Pierce and Jeff in just a second, but first, give you another look at tonight's 10-game slate here on your screen. You'll see the Thunder and Suns, highest projected point total there, 226 points. There are some other games not quite as compelling, whether it's the Jazz and Nets or some of the others with very low price scores. Mavericks, Grizzlies, 190, obviously. Raptors, Wizards, not supposed to give you a ton of points, but these things aren't always right. That's why it's projected. So, guess as you wish with, how you set those lineups, obviously. Lineups do lock at 7, as mentioned. We'll keep the insights coming from our analysts. Pierce will maybe try to find another 50-year-old crime drama to watch on TV while we pass the time as well. All right, fellas, join me again here. What do you think of tonight's slate? Good game to target, one to avoid. Pierce, go first.
Well, then I guess, it's the Suns in Oklahoma City because you've got Russell Westbrook and you have a ton of value. And if you just look, you can find all those guys. We've talked about all of them, so I don't really want to talk about them again. So let's talk about the Lakers and the Celtics. This is going to be a high-tempo game. Neither team really plays that good of defense. There's a lot of GPP plays in this game. D'Angelo Russell against the horrible defense and Isaiah Thomas. Avery Bradley might be on him a little bit. We don't know how many minutes Avery Bradley's going to play. If Avery Bradley plays under 20 minutes, then Marcus Smart's on the board. If you're really crazy, you can go with Al Horford coming off a really good game and probably his only good game of the year, but you love taking advantage of the Los Angeles Lakers front court. So Horford's there and he's going to be low owned, or maybe you're crazy with Kelly Olynyk, even though his minutes aren't there, but it could work out in the GPP. And then, on the Lakers, you just kind of got to guess who's going to get the minutes. Julius Randle just scored 65 fantasy points. He's in a good spot against the Boston front court, but his price has gone up. Who knows if he can repeat that type of performance again. But that's another game. Those are the two. Those West Coast games, I really like those.
Well, I'll tell you, too, just for what it's worth, Brad Stevens, coach of the Celtics, did say earlier that Avery Bradley remains on a minutes restriction. He played 22 his last time. He should see more minutes than last game, but not many. So I don't know, in the neighborhood of 25 minutes, something like that. Jeff, how about you? Games to watch tonight that you're really targeting. Same ones?
The Suns in Oklahoma for sure. I'll throw one more out there, which I think we should definitely talk about. The Knicks and the 76ers. I mean, Knicks are still shorthanded. It's a really good matchup against the 76ers. Darius Saric's prices went down. It's a good matchup. Kristaps Porzingis is probably going to start at center. You know, Carmelo Anthony is still playing 38, 40 minutes. He's dominated the 76ers in a couple matchups. Derrick Rose is only 6,000 and he's playing a ton of minutes. He's got really, really good return there. A lot of plays in this game. You could be targeting Courtney Lee for tournaments. I already talked about Nick Stakos. There's a ton of plays from this game that I think are.
Wait a second. What's the deal here? Jeff named every single New York Knick except for the one that he loved on Wednesday night. And it's the same exact spot. Jeff, what's the deal? You don't like that guy anymore?
At the time, we thought Kyle O'Quinn was starting. And of course, the New York Knicks decided to wait, I believe, until after Locked announced that he wasn't. So
that does that mean Kyle Quinn then is the best play? Because no one wants to get back on the Kyle Quinn death train. So now's the time to buy your ticket.
Probably a perfect time to use Kyle O'Quinn and GPPs tonight.
It's a Philadelphia front court. We love targeting it. So
no, for sure, I agree.
Pierce, do you not get enough "you're right, sweetie" at home? You need Jeff to tell you you're right. What's the deal here?
Hey, cool it off, Sir Krumke.
Hey, Jeff, tell me more about Nick Stakos while we're at it, too. It's good that at least all three of us are screwing up names tonight, so it's not just you that I'm picking on. All right, we're going to go to our next Spotlight matchups in a second. Let's take another question, though, for our guys before we do. Again, the hashtag DKTV, you can leave them as you watch on YouTube as well, right there in the video player. From Zach Vaughn, thoughts on Cousins versus Davis, or do you fade both? Pierce.
I like Cousins. I mean, 9,200 for DeMarcus Cousins, and he played well against San Antonio this year. I think he put near 50 points or more on them. I know he had a lot higher usage in those games, but we saw what he did in that first game for the Pelicans. They may not win this game. They may not even be close, but he seems to get his opportunities, and this is just too cheap for what he can do.
And Jeff?
I do kind of like the spot for Boogie. He's done okay against San Antonio in the past. The guy I think you should play over both of them, though, Blake Griffin. 9,100 going up against Milwaukee. They're bad at rebounding, bad at giving up fantasy points. I really like Blake Griffin tonight. I'd play him over both those guys. I do think it's close with Boogie Cousins, though, and I don't think he's a bad play at all. So I just think I'd prefer Blake Griffin. I think it's a really good bounce back spot for him.
All right, keep going with the questions. No need to slow down, but while we have other things planned, obviously, let's do our next Spotlight, our third, and that is matchups. That is player matchups specifically. These were put together by our pal Julian Edlows, often with us on the show. You can find him on the DK Playbook. And what this means, this category, is to see these names right here: Leonard, Hayward, Gobert, Ibaka, and Porzingis. Very simply, with these guys, they've got the favorable matchups individually against those teams. They've got good matchups tonight that are worth targeting in particular. Not simply those games to watch, but these players within those games. That's what it all means. You continue to build that lineup with the building block as well as with the value play we talked about earlier on. We'll get to our He's on Fire in a little bit. But first, a little bit more about these guys. You'll see a more comprehensive look right here at each and every one of them. Kawhi Leonard, 8,800 for the Spurs. Pelicans, fifth worst against small forwards. Kawhi, 55 fantasy points Wednesday against the Pacers. Gobert, 7,300 for Utah. He has had at least 32 fantasy points in 9 of 10. Good production for him of late. Nets defense allowing the fourth most DK fantasy points to opposing centers this season. Ibaka, just spent a little time on him, 6,700. He has over 40 DK fantasy points in 2 of his last 3 games. Has played at least 34 minutes in all 4 games since being traded to the Raptors. Wizards, third worst against bigs this year. Porzingis, 6,600. He has returned to the lineup Wednesday, and after a very short absence because of an ankle injury, starting at center, posting 20 points and 9 boards. That's, of course, 20 real points, 9 rebounds against the Magic. Nets have struggled against bigs, without Joel Embiid and Nerlens Noel. But going back to Gordon Hayward, 7,600 for the Jazz. You don't want to target Utah games too often. In fact, typically, I think Jeff said this the other night, look at who the Jazz are playing and then stay away from that game. But you feast on teams facing the Nets, so kind of a double-edged sword there. Brooklyn, second worst against shooting guards. So fittingly, I will start here with you, Jeff. You feel the same way? Do you just stay away from Jazz games, or do you like this one?
No, I mean, you got to break it down. I mean, you look at the implied point total tonight. It's like 109 points for Utah. It's way higher than their season average. It's a good spot. The worry is it might be a blowout, and these guys might get limited minutes. I still like a lot of players on the Utah Jazz, and I think Gordon Hayward for tournaments will go under own. I think he's got good upside. It could be a little bit faster pace than the Jazz usually play because of the Brooklyn Nets, and if they keep it close. I think Gobert's probably got a better floor. I think they're both in play. I just might find better, safer plays that you don't have to worry about a blowout in. That's the only issue for me. So I'm not sure how Pierce feels about the Jazz, but I think there's some guys with real upside there tonight. It's just a bit of a risk.
Well, Pierce, he's teeing you right up.
Well, that's actually kind of a good thing. People stay away from the Jazz because it's the Jazz and there's a blowout fear. So probably should have some really low ownership, but his price is way too low. He's had 40 fantasy points in 7 of his last 12 games. Last time he faced Brooklyn, he scored, I think, 44 fantasy points. That's a great spot. Even let's say that is a blowout. I think it's 25 minutes. But you got to think that the blowout was because Gordon Hayward blew them out. So 25 minutes, he could easily get 30, 35 fantasy points. Maybe that doesn't win you the #1 prize in the GPP, but you're still probably close to cashing. He doesn't kill you. And if it's reasonably close, if he gets 45 points at his price, that is an awesome return on his money.
Does he stand out on that list for you guys, or are you like another one maybe better?
I think Kawhi Leonard's interesting because he hasn't been that hot of late. This game, pretty high scoring. Well, I mean, it's not really high scoring, but it's high scoring for a Spurs game, and he always goes overlooked. This could be one of those games where he puts 45, 50. He may be, I mean, he's right there in the same boat as Gordon, but he's just a little bit more expensive. I like him. The other guys we've already talked pretty much all about.
Well, and it helps having a couple of those guys eligible in multiple positions as well. Jeff, what do you think?
Yeah, I like Kawhi Leonard. It is the same kind of worry, though. I mean, if San Antonio takes off in that game, I'll throw out Blake Griffin again, who's got a really, really good matchup against Milwaukee Bucks front court. I think it's a good bounce back spot for him. So he'd be one of my favorite guys. We're just talking about matchups in particular.
All right. Well, we'll get to Alex again in the DK Live newsroom coming up in just a moment. Maybe go over some of the themes tonight that we're not talking about. That's what Alex is there for, keeps things in perspective for us. But let's before we do that, let's take another question here, see where we come from. Again, on YouTube and on Twitter, the hashtag DKTV. It comes from our pal Nadeworks, loyal viewer. Appreciate you. Dario Saric or Carmelo Anthony. How do we feel about that, Jeff?
And it's really close. I like both those players tonight. I already mentioned I like that as one of my favorite games. If you had to go between the two, I might lean towards Dario Saric. I just feel like he's playing so good. He's consistent. He's 38 points in 7 of his last 8 games, at least 38 points. So maybe for cash games, you go Dario Saric. Maybe for tournaments, I think Carmelo Anthony is always seems to be a little bit overlooked, but I definitely like targeting both those players tonight.
Pierce?
You can't really go wrong with either of them. One of the things that people really have not been talking about lately, but without Joel Embiid, the Sixers are playing really fast. They are one of the more fast-paced teams in the league, scoring a lot of points that way. I think I'll go with Carmelo just because he can just, dominate the ball. With Dario, you could see Bob Covington having the better night. When I look at the Knicks, who knows if Kristaps will stay on the court, but Carmelo's going to get his shots, and if he's got a decent matchup. So I'm going to lean towards Carmelo.
All right. Again, we'll check in with Alex coming up in just a moment. Also, your questions. As always, we've got 17 minutes before the lineup lock. Let's take this one more here. From at @average_man, another underscore, is Richaun Holmes, worth starting at 4,800. Pierce, what do you think?
Yeah, because Jahlil Okafor sucks. And Richaun Holmes actually may have a better future than Okafor. And they're starting to put him in more. Okafor gets in trouble, can't play defense. He gets into foul trouble. He's really inconsistent. Richaun Holmes can do backup minutes at power forward. He can play backup minutes at center. I really like Richaun Holmes. The price is up a little bit, but he's facing the New York Knicks front court, which is injured. And he's going to be playing Kristaps at center. He's in a really good spot.
Tell you, man, Jahlil Okafor, 3rd overall pick a couple years back, already looking like a dinosaur at age 23 in today's NBA. What do you think, Jeff?
Yeah, I think he's more of a tournament play, just because the price is a little bit up there now. I think we said he's 4,800. I prefer him over Brandon Ingram, though. But I think, like, for cash games, you can go cheaper. You can go to, like, Allen Williams or Marquise Chris in that Phoenix game. But, yeah, Richaun Holmes definitely played in that.
All right. Well, it's a good time for another check with Alex in the DK Live newsroom. I know he has been hunkering down with our research team. Lots of stories tonight, but not just the basic ones that everyone comes to expect. Occasionally we'll, dive outside the box a little bit. Alex, take me for a walk down Narrative Street here.
Yeah, okay. So playing DFS, you are always searching for clues as to what will make a player go above and beyond the regular output on any given night. A lot of those have to do with on-the-court things, matchups, recency bias, things of that nature. But sometimes we kind of venture off the court a little onto Narrative Street. It could be a player's birthday, or maybe he's back in his hometown and there's a bunch of family in the stands, or he's playing against a former team called a revenge game. Now, we're not going to take the time to list out all of those different scenarios that are going through tonight. However, we will take an even deeper dive onto Narrative Street, starting in D.C., where we're expecting big things out of second-year wing Kelly Oubre Jr. Why?
I hope we were going to talk about him.
Kelly Oubre Jr.'s inside the Verizon Center tonight because it is his bobblehead night. And I can't think of something that will inflate a player's head more than an actual enlarged head of his bouncing up and down. From there, we go to Philly, where visiting Kristaps Porzingis got to publicly relive a blast from the past earlier today when Sports Illustrated published several photos of him when he was a lanky little guy down in Latvia. There's some shots of him playing hoops, of course. There's also him blowing bubbles or sitting on his bed with a rather dour expression. Some of them were kind of random. Anyways, so if Kristaps goes off tonight, it's not because he's, good, which he is, or because the Sixers are really bad at defense, which they are. It's because he wants to erase those images out of your head, so keep that in mind. And last but not least, we go over to Milwaukee, where they're trying pretty much anything and everything to fill people into that arena. Tonight's attempt is WWE night. There's going to be a meet and greet with Charlotte Flair and chance to win tickets for an upcoming WWE event. Now, how is this going to help the Bucks? I don't know, maybe a rowdier crowd or something like that. I honestly really can't tell you. But you can't not mention WWE night, right, Adam?
Well, to Charlotte on behalf of all of us. Woo! Not too bad. All right, let's do our next chase fade, Alex. Thank you very much, sir. All right, these guys are knotted up at 1. Pierce and Jeff after our first round. Again, this is a best of 5. This first one here. DeMar DeRozan, recent usage outweighs his tough matchup with the Wizards. You going to chase that or fade that? Pierce, start us off.
I'm going to face it. It's not – his usage is through the roof with Kyle Lowry out, but we really didn't see much from it the other night, and the Wizards' front court's really strong. Bradley Beal plays good defense. I would rather fade the usage and fade it because of the good defense he's going to be facing, and I got too much time left. Fade.
Jeff.
I like it. I mean, I think Toronto's in a bounce-back spot here. I think in the way they're going to have to win this game is DeMar DeRozan's going to have to chuck all game. It might not be the prettiest fantasy game, but I do think he's going to have a bounce-back. I know the matchup doesn't look good, but his usage is so high without Kyle Lowry. It's over 40%. I got to chase DeMar DeRozan bouncing back. And his price came down, too.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Jeff there. I think circumstances come into play here when you factor in that obviously no Kyle Lowry, as Jeff mentioned this time around. It's almost impossible to not see DeRozan going off to some degree. Maybe, he's not going to score 50 points or something like that against obviously a good defense, as you can see. But, if the scoring is going to come from anywhere, seemingly DeRozan. But who knows? Maybe Pierce will be proven right. I'm certain he'll let us know on Twitter if, in fact, he is.
We saw it on Wednesday. It didn't happen 2 days ago. Why would it happen now?
Lightning doesn't always strike twice?
That wouldn't even be lightning.
We don't play
it done twice.
That's why we play games, Pierce. We don't just put it in the computer and do an outcome. They got to play.
Yeah, okay. Pierce. Okay. Come on. All right, DeMarcus Cousins' steep salary decrease from $10,500 to $9,200, again, $1,300 drop-off is enough to draft him against the Spurs. Pierce, start us off.
Yeah, I'm going to chase him. I'm not worried about the matchup. He played well against the Spurs earlier this year. Yeah, his usage is going to be cut down a little bit, but basically, look at the Pelicans. It's going to be him and Davis. I know they got to share the ball, but they're not sharing it with anybody else. He should be fine. He's incredibly cheap. I feel real comfortable.
Jeff, are you picking this boogie?
I'm gonna fade Boogie. I mean, the matchup, obviously, it's the Spurs. It's not really the greatest matchup. I know Cousins has a decent history against them, but that's with the Pelicans. That's with his old team, the Sacramento Kings. He's on a different team. His usage is still up in the air with Anthony Davis. Hasn't really gone off completely. yet. I think it's still a fade. I still think that there's other plays out there at the same price.
All right, I'm going to go with Jeff again there on that one. So sorry, Pierce, we haven't even gotten to round 5 or round 3 and question number 5. But you've already lost
He put up good points when his team was Sacramento and he had no one else around him.
Isn't that exactly the point?
Play better on actually a good team. Now, the Spurs are going to have to guard 2 guys and figure out a way to shut down Davis and Boogie. How are they going to do that when they couldn't shut down Boogie and a bunch of nobodies?
Well, how did the Pelicans lose their first game by like 20 points? But they
They'll
did.
lose. This
30.
game's supposed to be close. I'm not saying they're going to win. I'm the person that said this is going to blow up in their face, but he's going to get his fantasy points.
All right, well, remains to be seen. We'll find out. Let's go back to Alex again here, though. He has been doing a little bit of everything for us, obviously, the DK Live newsroom over the course of this evening. And we've gone over value plays, lots of them. But how about the bargain bin? Who are you sifting around for tonight, Alex?
Yeah, definitely. Before we get there, one real quick Narrative Street update. Dwight Powell bobblehead night in Dallas as well. So
I don't know
I
how
know a
we
lot
live
of people aren't
without that.
touching the Memphis-Dallas game with a 10-foot pole. However, if you're looking for backup centers, Dwight Powell would be your guy. But anyways, getting back to the bargain bin. Now, this is an article that Zach Thompson has up on the DK Playbook where he looks at only guys under 4K. So if you are looking to pay up for Westbrook and maybe even another star, whether you liked the conversation on Boogie or DeRozan earlier today, you need those guys at under 4K. So let's take a look at the four of the guys that he wrote about. He's big on John Henson of the Bucks at 3,500. No Terrence Jones yet. So they are still thin in that front court, so he should see a lot of minutes. And I've also heard he's a big wrestling fan, so maybe WWE night will bring something out of him. Doug McDermott at 3,600, double-digit shots in back-to-back games with Victor Oladipo out. We've already touched on the shootout potential in this game. Derek Williams at 3,800, played a boatload of minutes against the Celtics on Wednesday, 31 to be exact. He also had 21 DK points in that game. Last but not least, we're going to the very basement, cellar dweller, Hollis Thompson at the stone minimum, 3,000. He's been starting for the Pelicans at shooting guard and did play 40 minutes on Wednesday. That's what we got out of the bargain bin tonight.
You want to give me another good movie? I mean, you said Corky Romano the other night. The diving into the deep bargain DVD bin. What do you got? What's another one?
Let's go with Willow tonight.
Willow. Nobody has shouted out that movie since it came out, so good for you. Who's in Willow? Give me one person.
Warwick Davis. Come on, man. He's the lead. Also Val Kilmer, but Warwick Davis is key in that movie.
Oh, my goodness. Willow. Hey, good for you. All right, let's do our last spotlight here as we're down to about 10 minutes. Not even. That is the He's on Fire spotlight, which is pretty simple to understand. Basically, you got 5 guys, at least we have profiled 5 of our dudes here that are scorching hot. You'll be able to see on the graphic coming up in just a moment all the different stats, what they've been doing over the last 5 games, 10 games, whatever it may be. Guys that, again, are just, and naturally, as we do show to show, there's going to be some redundancy in this category because guys that largely have stayed hot. A few of these guys we just talked about a couple of days ago. Westbrook, big money. We know that. Saric, Covington, Curry, Chris. We've been talking a lot about Curry, Covington, and Saric in particular. Westbrook always. But let's take a deeper dive here as we always like to do. Again, you see those stats right there. They all could have that basketball with the flame. As far as, let's see here. Start with Saric. Snapped a 7-game streak of at least 37 DK points on Wednesday. Last Saturday against New York, scored 19 points to go with 15 rebounds and 5 assists. So a nice, well-rounded game for him, $7,400. Covington, 7,200, right behind him. He is averaging 13 more fantasy points than his season average over the last 5. Gets a favorable matchup against the Knicks, 47 DK fantasy points against them last week. Westbrook, 13,100. Can't say it enough. He is pricey, but even by Russell Westbrook standards, he's Russell Westbrook. He's been hot. He's averaging 71. That's 71 DK fantasy points his last 5 games. He's in store for a shootout tonight. Could break 80 again. We talked about it earlier. Marquise Chris, 4,300. More of a value guy, obviously. Also in that shootout is Chris, that same game, who has hit at least 1 3-pointer in 3 of his last 4, has at least 6 rebounds in 3 of 5 as well. But the guy we're really talking about, Seth, not Steph Curry, $6,000 from Dallas. Still no Wes Matthews. So Curry's going to start at shooting guard. He has at least 35 DK fantasy points in each of his last 4 games while averaging 36, DK fantasy points on average. That's, again, 36 fantasy points, but 21 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals on those averages. Does have a tough matchup tonight, though, against Memphis. So that is kind of the devil's advocate to this here, Jeff. You like Curry, again, Seth Curry, or are you staying away on account of the defense?
No, you got to fade that whole game. I really like Seth Curry the last couple slates that he's played. He's just been too cheap, and he's just producing at such a consistent rate. But it's Memphis and Dallas. It's just there's nothing good about this game. There's going to be no points scored. It's he might hit 36 points, like fantasy points again, but that's his absolute upside, I think, in this game. And you want guys which have a little bit more upside than that. I just can't go back to Seth Curry. He's been playing really, really well, but I think you just cross him off the list tonight. Pierce,
same thing?
I don't know if I'll go as far as crossing him off the list, but I think Jeff's right. It's going to be really hard for him to go above 36 fantasy points. But, you look at his last 8 games, he's won over 5X. In his last 4 games, 8X, 8X, 6X, 6X. I do worry that maybe he can't get above that, especially against Memphis. But maybe if there's one saving grace, they're playing in Dallas. I hate targeting Memphis in the grindhouse. But at Dallas, maybe give him a little bit of a boost. I think I'd rather just go down cheaper with Stauskas and return value than take a risk on Seth Curry. I think Seth Curry's fine in cash games.
I was only half paying attention here. I'm looking at clips from Willow on my iPad. If we're being perfectly, I don't know if you can see her. Yeah, you see her right here. just checking it. Just enjoying the whole thing. Good for you, Alex. All right, we're going to do one more chase fade here before we run out of time. Get your questions in, by the way, with the hashtag DKTV on Twitter, as always, or leave them right there in the YouTube player as you continue to watch. Lineups locking in just a few minutes. This is your last opportunity, at least until the next show on Monday, to get them in. This last chase fade, admittedly, Jeff's already won the thing 3-1. It is a best of 5, so this is meaningless. This is for pride, I suppose, guys. Dario Saric, appropriately priced at $7,400. Jeff, start.
Well, I've already won, so I guess I don't have to say anything technically, but I'm going to fade it. I actually think he's a little bit too cheap tonight. His price went down, but the matchup got better. I mean, the Knicks are like a bottom 10 team guarding against the center and power forward. He's got over 38 fantasy points in 7 of his last 8 games. I think Dario Saric is a big play. It's too cheap.
Pierce?
Well, since I've lost, I'll just use this time to talk about, West Side Story is not only the greatest American musical, but it is clearly one of the top 10 greatest films ever made. I mean, every song is a classic, from Officer Krumke to Play It Cool to Night Medley. Just you really should raise your kids on the West Side Story movie.
Yeah, I mean, I hope, Pierce, you're able to take a little gander at your screen here while we've got this just a terrific Photoshop up from our team here. He's passionate about this movie. I imagine there are more scenes to come as well over the course of the life of Pre-Lock Live.
I'm glad you guys have so much free time.
You know what? I promise you we don't. We have so little free time, but sometimes it's just worth it. You carve out a couple of minutes. You want to get that. Do you have that coat, by the way? That's a really nice jacket.
Yeah, it is. I got that when I win the Masters. Did I get one? Not the Masters. That would have been Hall of Fame.
Yeah,
NFL Hall of Fame. Got that in Canton.
Yeah. All right. How about you, Jeff? I mean, we've heard about Willow from Alex, West Side Story for our guy Pierce here. How about you? What's your go-to?
My go-to bargain bin, maybe Deuce Bigalow, European Gigolo.
Not even the male Gigolo. You go right for the sequel.
That's right.
I think you'd probably find them both in the bargain bin. I don't know if you're going to find West Side Story, Pierce, in the bargain bin, though.
That's a classic.
You should get it on Blu-ray.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe we should. All right. Final thoughts from each and every one of you before lineups lock in probably 90 seconds. Pierce, start us off.
What are we asking?
Final thought. Just a final thought on the slate. I have to spoon feed
I'm going to go Russell Westbrook, and I'm going to stack that game and go crazy with cheap Suns and cheap Oklahoma City players.
And Jeff?
Yeah, okay. I mean, the guy I was supposed to talk about before, and I didn't. Pau Gasol's only 5,400. He's going to have to play a ton with Boogie Cousins and Anthony Davis out there. He's a really sneaky turnaround play, so get him in there if you're looking for someone in the last 60 seconds. yeah, I don't know. I really like Blake Griffin as my other play. It's another kind of guy I think is really going to go off that.
Alex, parting thought?
I'm looking at Dennis Schroeder here. I guess, Cleveland's not that good against opposing point guards, and, probably going to have to try and score a lot. I'm still on my Willow kick right now, so I'm not really focused too much on basketball.
Yeah, right there with you, buddy. Right there with you. Hey, can we get that Pierce shot one more time before we sign off here? There it is. That is just an inspiration to each and every one of us. That'll carry me through the weekend, no doubt about that. Hope you guys enjoyed tonight's show, as always. Thanks to Pierce. And I hope your hair is that long one day, too. That'll be terrific. We'll catch that on a NASCAR video at some point. It'll be great. Put your helmet on. Thanks to Jeff as well, and Alex doing a great job, as he always does, a couple of times this week. And hey, I'm Adam Kaufman. We'll talk to you again next time. Prelock Live returns Monday, 6 Eastern. Another full slate of games to get you prepared for. Good luck in the contest tonight.